When I share with people that I'm a math teacher and math coach, I am often met with responses like, I am so bad at math, or wow, that must be so challenging, or "Ugh, I hate math." There's no subject that causes anxiety like mathematics does for students, teachers, principals, parents, and coaches alike. Images of complex algebraic equations, timed multiplication tests, geometry proofs, along with feelings of frustration and confusion, fill our memories of math. I've coached countless teachers who have felt overwhelmed by the prospect of teaching math because they were never good at math themselves, or so they say. And I imagine that similarly, many of you are feeling uncomfortable about the idea of coaching others in math, especially if you do not teach math yourself. It's my hope that through these next 2 weeks, we'll explore just how to make your teachers comfortable teaching math by you confidently coaching them. To get started, I would like us to take a glance at the Common Core State Standards for math. This lecture will be the building block off of which we will build our coaching. The Common Core State Standards for mathematics have been divided into two forms: the standards for mathematical content and the standards for mathematical practice, which I will often refer to as the SMPs. As you can see from the image on the screen, the content standards and the practice standards have many similarities and differences, the largest of which is that the content standards address the what of math, while the practice standards focus on how students will learn the content standards. The content standards cannot be taught without incorporating the practice standards, and at the same time, the practice standards cannot be accessed by students without teaching the content standards. Let's take a deeper look at what these differences are. When I speak about the standards for mathematical content, I'm speaking about the type of standards with which you are most familiar. These often sound like estimate the length of an object using inches, centimeters, and meters, or divide multi-digit numbers using the standard algorithm. Each of these standards is expected to be mastered at a specific grade level and ultimately guide a teacher's year-long planning. They are considered the nouns of math, what specific knowledge students are to gain. The SMPs are probably less familiar to you. In all, there are only 8 of these standards. They're more broad, like use appropriate tools strategically and look for and make sense of structure. Their wide-ranging nature is due to the fact that these standards measure the processes and methods a mathematician employs while working through a problem. Consequently, these are the verbs of math, and students will develop these over the course of their entire K-12 career. Because the SMPs remain the same from K to 12, I often like to think of them as riding a bike. We can ride a bike with training wheels, we can ride a bike without training wheels, but with the help of an adult holding the bike for us, and then all on our own. All scenarios represent riding a bike. Similarly, the SMPs remain the same, but students will learn them incrementally. They'll receive help from a teacher, they'll work through them a little bit cautiously, and eventually feel competent to use them independently. And as students gain familiarity, they will completely use them more independently and with greater success. To get further information on the SMPs, I highly recommend that the next step you take when finishing this video is going to the Common Core State Standards website and thoroughly reading the practices by following the directions on the slide.